Hello and welcome to the big picture. Once again, the disseminators of news are as much in the news as the news they have disseminated. The array of scandals and sting operations involving politicians has brought back into focus the issues of public interest, propaganda, and media trial. The role of the media in exposing corruption, crime, and misdoings is closely linked to the behavior of the media and its ethics too. In the last several days, Indian media is full of exposés and reactions to those exposés, with politicians filing cases against the media and also defamation cases against media persons and media houses. One union minister has also raised the issue of a Murdoch type of an inquiry, which one is witnessing in the UK, becoming a possibility in India too. The cacophony which one has been witnessing has camouflaged the more serious issues facing journalism and journalists. The fundamental principles of journalism have come under a cloud, even as the relationship between the ruling class and the media is getting more and more shrouded in shades of grey. The advent of 24/7 TV journalism and its own dynamics, not to mention the breathless competition to top the TRP ratings, has created its own problems, challenging the basic ethics of journalism. What is public interest? How motivated propaganda gets entangled with public interest, and how the media trial is impacting public discourse. We will discuss all this today in the light of developments in the last few weeks. To discuss this, I have an eminent panel of guests with me. Nihal Singh, former editor of Indian Express, Statesman, and Khalij Times. Rahul Dev, a veteran TV journalist who has also strided both print and television medium, and will be joined soon by other guests. Let me start with Mr. Nihal Singh. Mr. Nihal Singh, when you watch what is happening on television, what more on television than in the print, these kind of exposés, the kind of the politicians blaming the media. Some of them have even filed FIR cases about cases against the media houses and all. Do you see that there is some problem with the basic principles of journalism itself? Has it evolved? Has it changed from your days to now, after the advent of TV journalism?
Well, to begin with, I think the problem is that most of our politicians, with the rare exceptions, have not really understood what modern media is like, because we are no longer in the print age.
Right.
And here, the dynamics are totally different.
Right.
Now, the dynamics of 24/7 television channels and competition, as is suggested, is very intense.
Right.
But politicians have to recognize the fact that if there is a misstatement, or they believe there is an untruth that is being propagated, that they have a mechanism to quickly come with a retort to be effective. Because you can't wait 24 hours and the next day sort of make a big statement and so on. So that is one issue where the politicians, as a rule, have fallen behind the progress of technology in media.
Okay.
The other is that, unfortunately, a number of channels, again, in search of TRP ratings, in search of more viewers, they have become rather rash in what they report and how they report it. Because obviously, if you are working on an investigative story, you have to be very sure of your facts, and then you can relay them as you wish. But really, I think that the problem is that you have to be on top of the news as a politician.
Right.
There's no other go. Of course, there are problems with that. The fact that you are in the government has certain restrictions.
Absolutely.
And we all understand that. But I think there has to be a mechanism to oversee whether everybody is being fair, the politicians and the media. And I think the suggestion of a kind of a Murdoch type investigation would be fine.
You think it would be fine?
I think it would be a good idea.
I think that the time has come in this country for that kind of an investigation.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, Rahul? It's very interesting. Mr. Nihal Singh thinks that kind of an investigation.
Well,
the media is as much under scrutiny as the politicians are in present stage.
It should be.
And how far do we go? How far does the media accept this kind of investigations?
I think, as a principle, media cannot object to any scrutiny of its own role and the way it operates. And any story that it puts out, whether in print or television or any other medium, is as much open to scrutiny and challenge, legal and otherwise, as anything else.
Right.
So, media, we cannot object to being looked into or inquired into or investigated. Now, whether we need an investigation on the lines of the
Murdoch type.
Murdoch investigation depends on whether we have a case like that.
Absolutely.
So that what is happening there relates to a certain series of events.
Right.
It's not a general investigation into all aspects of media. So now that one union minister has filed a
Defamation
case.
Another
and,
MP has filed
another MP as well as a big private company has filed an FIR against a big media group. I think we are now entering into a new phase of the relationship between the Indian media, the corporate sector, as well as the political class. And I would say the public at large also, because both have tasted, especially the media, have tasted sort of fresher, newer blood. As it were. And I agree that it is tending to become a little rash at times. So it does need some, not restriction, but some discipline on itself.
Okay, we are joined now by Madhu Trehan. Madhu Trehan is one of the pioneers in Indian journalism as far as magazine journalism is concerned. Then she was one of the pioneers in television journalism in this country. And now she is the editorial director, I think, of
News Laundry.
newslaundry.com. Welcome to the show, Madhu. Madhu, the issue now is about, we have seen what has happened in the last few weeks, and it has raised a lot of furor. And I was asking Mr. Nihal Singh, has the basic principles of journalism changed after the 24/7 advent of 24/7 television journalism?
I don't think.
Or are they trying to change it?
I think 24/7 was a lesson for the media on, as well as the government,
Right.
that there should have been certain protocols put in place before such an event.
Right.
And it was a lesson for the media on what are their own protocols that they should follow. It was a new kind of an incident which nobody was prepared for.
Right.
So for the government to blame the media is completely unfair, because they were doing their job. In ignorance, they made a lot of mistakes.
Right.
Subsequently, 2 weeks after that, 3 weeks after that, the National Broadcasters Association put out guidelines for which they asked channels for, if any kind of incident like this happens, what kind of protocol they should follow. So it was a learning experience for everybody. So just to blame the media is a little, I think, harsh. Subsequently, I think those things have been put in place. Secondly, you were talking about whether the media should be investigated and comparing it to the Murdoch
Right.
situation. Now, as far as the Sun was concerned, the Murdoch reporters broke the law. They did illegal things.
Absolutely.
They tapped phones of a dead child's parents. They did unacceptable, socially unacceptable and illegal things. As far as this investigation has gone, in the Khurshid case,
In the Salman Khurshid case.
in the Salman Khurshid case, as far as I know, the Khurshids were contacted at every point for them to be given the opportunity to give their side of the story.
Right.
It was not done in subterfuge. It was done with their knowledge. They knew that this investigation was going on, and many letters were exchanged.
Two letters were exchanged. I mean, 2 letters are in the public domain at least.
Yes, letters were exchanged in which they were asked that these are the following things, please give us your version. So it was not done in a dogged way to go after them. The story happened, they investigated it, they gave the other side the opportunity to respond. As far as I can see, all good journalistic practices were followed. They got their chance to answer. He even had the chance to answer in his own press conference. So the question of investigating...
The issue is now about the press conference, the way the press conference was conducted, the way the media people behaved in that press conference also has become a major issue.
Yes, that's true. But the point is that when you are both, I see both speakers here have said that the media should be investigated. I want to ask, investigated for what? Have they done anything illegal?
As Rahul correctly pointed out, that what is We can't just have a general roving investigation into everything on media. There has to be a particular specific instance for that. I don't think anybody
Madhu,
will
I've
have
said that the media cannot object to being investigated for anything. When
No,
we
but there has to be a
investigate-
reason. If
Absolutely.
I'm
There
going
has
to
to
be
be a reason.
investigated,
Absolutely
no doubt
there has
about
to
it.
be some suspicion.
There is
Somebody
no
can't
need-
walk into my house
there is no
and
need-
raid me because it's their
Absolutely not.
mood. They have to
We-
have
we
a warrant of
no, no,
suspicion.
we have seen.
So what
we
is
have
the
seen
warrant
this
of
kind
suspicion?
We have seen many media houses and media organizations facing this kind of problems when these roving inquiries take place. But by the way, we have Deepak Sharma, editor investigations at the Aaj Tak news channel, the man who is in the news right now, on the phone line with us. Deepak, the discussion here is about the basic principles of journalism. Has TV journalism changed the basic principles of journalism?
First of all, I'm very sorry I could not join you. All senior people are there. So my apologies. I could not join. But yes, the question said that has the basic principles of the journalism changed? You know, I can only defend my story. My story doesn't have an agenda, number one. Number two, it doesn't have any ulterior motives, which Mr. Salman Khurshid or Louis Khurshid have been accusing. Number three, the story is about what? The story is about poor people, disabled people, and their rights.
One of the Deepak,
Yeah.
what Salman Khurshid yesterday in the press conference was saying was that after you people contacted them, you contacted the two letters which are in the public domain. Then they say that they have issued certain clarifications. They gave you certain information on that, but those information which they had given was not carried. You went ahead and did exactly what you did without taking their views into consideration. This is the charge which Salman Khurshid made against your channel yesterday.
Please allow me, you have invited me, please allow me to carry my point of view. You know, what Mr. Salman Khurshid has given to us, he has given to us an affidavit.
Right.
And that affidavit was of whom? It was of Mr. J.B. Singh, who is right now the registrar of Lucknow University. And earlier, J.B. Singh was the CD of Mainpuri. Now, in this affidavit, attested by a notary on a stamp paper, J.B. Singh says that I had signed on the checklist which was submitted by Ms. Louis Khurshid to the Government of India. I have signed on that important checklist, number one. Number two, J.B. Singh says that I had attended the camps organized by Ms. Louis Khurshid.
Right.
So two important points he says. The affidavit is very important.
Right.
But what happened? When we cross-checked with Mr. J.B. Singh, that affidavit given by Ms. Louis Khurshid turned out to be fake. It turned out to be forced. No. Let me speak on this. This is the core issue.
Deepak, that's the core issue. I understand. You know, there has been much discussion on that. Their opinion was that you went and asked the wrong person, took the affidavit of the wrong person, the person who was not present at that day. Anyway, Deepak, these issues have been discussed threadbare in the last 2 days.
This issue has not been. We have not been answered. This is what I'm waiting for. This is the answer I need. This is the answer which
you need
Mr.
the answer.
Khurshid has to
No,
give.
I can't give the answer. Khurshid is not here, unfortunately, but we'll come back to you. Please stay on. We'll come back to you, Mr. Nihal Singh. The question is this: I'm talking of the larger issue. We as journalists go and make some investigations, do some investigations, publish it or telecast it, and then there is other side to the picture. Now, how long do we wait for the other side of the picture to emerge? Don't we have, as journalists, a obligation to wait for the for the other person to react, to give his side of the picture?
No, that's true. We have to give the other side of the version. But obviously, if somebody is obfuscating for reasons, his own reasons or her own reasons, then we cannot wait indefinitely.
How do who decides whether it's obfuscation
it's
or
the
it is
editor of the organization who has to take the rap, really, to say, well, now we go ahead and do the story. But that is why I emphasized in the beginning, the problem is that the politician class in India does not really understand the dynamics of competitive private television channels.
Is that what you think, Madhu? That there is a gap in the way the politicians understand the dynamics of the present day media?
I think there's a gap, but not that gap. I think the gap is basically this, that most politicians, because there have been media groups and journalists who have carried out the agenda of other politicians, or for whatever reason, even resorting to blackmail. Most politicians presume that when there's an investigative report, it is done with some agenda.
Right.
What the problem here is that when it is done honestly, giving them a fair chance to respond, and if you tell me that he did not get a fair chance to respond, he certainly had it yesterday for 2 hours on live television. He got a fair chance to respond.
Still some questions are being raised about after that. Now,
Questions have been raised about him. And the question here is that if a minister of any government targets the owner or any individual of a news organization and demands his resignation, when that news organization has not asked for his resignation, they've only placed the report in public. They have not asked for Salman Khurshid's resignation. They are not an activist group.
Absolutely.
They're a news organization.
Some activists are demanding it.
The activists, there's no collusion between the activists and the news organization. In fact, on yesterday's television, last night, some channels were giving it a spin that the Kejriwal is now distancing himself from the news organization. They were never together.
Anyway,
there's no question of distancing themselves. They are separate. News organizations might well tomorrow do an expose on a political party or the NGO or the activist, and vice versa. The activist might expose the news organization. So there'll never be a meeting point. They were separate.
Okay, we need to go into a short break now. Please keep watching. We'll come back very soon and continue this very interesting discussion. Welcome back. We are discussing about the public interest and the media trial which is happening in this country. Rahul, the issue is about how journalists need to behave. There are also issues of, how much detached should a journalist be from the story which he does, or does he get emotionally involved with the story? And if that happens, what will be the result? This is what we see keep happening. We keep seeing on television channels nowadays that reporters get emotionally involved and then they get into a slanging match with whoever they are, asking questions to.
Well, Girish, firstly, a reporter has to defend his story if he is confident.
What is the limit?
Of the fact
what
of
is the limit of the defense? That is the question.
No, hold on. Defense is a defense, and when you defend something, something that you have done yourself publicly, you tend to become a little sharp and loud. That's all. Don't go by the volume of a person's pitch or voice. Look at the facts. And number one, a reporter has a duty and right to defend his or her story.
Right.
Number two, we all know the general precautions and ethics of journalism.
But where does one defend a story? What is the platform on
if
which
you are
one
sure
defends
of
the
your story, then you defend it.
Mr. Nihal Singh, what is the platform on which one defends the story?
Well, of course, ideally, it should be the organization that defends it.
Right.
And in this case, I know because I've received messages too from India Today group that they have tried to defend it.
Right.
Their side of the story, which is fair enough. I mean, that's the job of the editor or the supervising editor or whoever is in charge. But, you raised the question of a Murdoch-style inquiry.
Right.
And Madhu had reservations on it. We don't have to replicate that kind of an inquiry. But I think what is necessary because of the new compulsions or the compulsions of the new media to have some kind of an assurance to politicians and the general public that we are above board. Because most reporting I mean, there are lapses of various kinds, but most reporting is done honestly, or at least
It's supposed to be done honestly.
Yes, reporters try to do an honest job. It is their job to investigate irregularities. It is their job to find out what's happening, and so on. So you cannot say, well, the reporters have vested interest doing this or that or third story.
But these are very sharp, these are very serious concerns actually being raised now. Not just the reporters, the media houses themselves are being challenged now as far as objectivity is concerned.
If I'm allowed to interrupt, Mr. Salman Khurshid's defamation case, now the onus is on him to prove that the story was defamatory by intention.
Right, motives have to be proved.
It was malafide, it was explicitly done to defame him. I don't think this was the case. We are talking of
only the judiciary
one of the most respectable, biggest media houses.
That's right. There is no doubt about it. Only the judiciary can now decide about
I think he's been
whether it's defamatory or not.
rather immature. And
Madhu, coming back to the question which I was asking Nihal Singh, what is the platform on which a journalist will defend his story? Doesn't he go back to his his newspaper or his television channel and say that what was said was not correct, or do you get into a slanging match in a press conference with the?
No, I don't know how many press conferences. I'm sure you've attended many press conferences.
Hundreds.
Almost every press conference becomes a slamming match between.
Whether it's the right thing or not.
Why not? Because the man is not a slanging match. If a reporter is asked a question which is not being answered, he has to pursue it. That's number one. Secondly, about what Mr. Nihal Singh said, comparing the Murdoch inquiry and this means that every time there's an expose, the news organization, without any basis, is called to defend itself. Why? The Murdoch inquiry was because of illegality, as I said before. There is no illegality that this news organization has done, not even a suspicion of it. And the fact that the minister asks for a private individual to resign, it's beyond the pale.
No,
Secondly,
beyond the pale.
Do you expect, now I give you the example of the Tehelka sting operation. When a commission of inquiry was put into place, who was investigated? The journalists were investigated. The investors were investigated. The investors, Shankar Sharma and Divina Mehra, had over 26 raids in their house and offices. They had over 300 cases filed against them. Each government, it's not this government, every government who finds itself questioned or exposed in any way, they go in every way after, not the journalists so much because we make so much noise. We do dharna, they go after the investors. And if you notice in the press conference, Salman Khurshid made the attempt to divide and try to rule, which I don't think he can, but he tried to divide by saying, I have nothing against the reporters. All right? Oh, I'm nothing against the workers, but I'm going to go after the owner because they're doing the bidding, and anyone who knows how news organizations run should be aware that reporters do not always do, or most often don't do the bidding of the owner. It's the other way around. When a reporter comes with a story, the owner has to justify why he wants to kill it. And that is the truth.
Finally, every journalist has to have an opinion, but how far does he carry this opinion when he is on the job of trying to find a story?
Well, obviously, he cannot intrude his own opinions on a story.
Right.
And it's not his job to give his own opinion, unless it's a commentary, which is a different kettle of fish altogether.
Absolutely.
But when
sorry? That fine line between opinion and a news story, it is getting blurred?
Well, it is getting blurred, but there are two kinds of journalism. There is the Anglo-Saxon variety, which we follow largely, or we are supposed to, in the English language press around the world. And there's the French variety, where, say, a paper like Le Monde, which is very respected, highly respected paper, and there they have a different style of merging news with a commentary.
Right.
It's well understood that it is so. No, there are two issues here. One is the freedom of the media, and to impute motives because a story doesn't suit a person, I think is totally wrong.
Okay, Rahul, last words to you. When you started, you said that there is a certain element of rashness in journalism. How do we control this rashness?
I think every such experience creates its own lesson for the whole media, and we all draw our own lessons, and no one likes to be challenged or dragged to the court. So I'm sure every media organization will draw some lessons, and we are ourselves, even without this latest controversy, conscious of our own mistakes and shortcomings, and when we go wrong, and we are all the time trying to improve ourselves.
But you know,
So
when you
it's
say
an ongoing
about,
process.
when you talk about opinions of journalists, Rajya Sabha TV, Lok Sabha TV, Doordarshan TV shows its opinion by choosing the stories that they do.
Anyway,
And what they leave out.
We're completely run out of time, Madhu. Sorry. I wish we had a little more time. Anyway, this is a debate which needs to continue. Media has to turn the mirror into itself and have a look at what it does, apart from the fact that nobody is defending the politicians. The politicians in any case are under scrutiny all the time, but it is the media also needs to scrutinize itself and conduct themselves in a better manner. Thanks to all my guests, Madhu Trehan, S. Nihal Singh and Rahul Dev, and also Deepak Sharma. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on the big picture same time tomorrow.